Hello, and welcome to today's WAHNcast episode. Today, I am talking to an amazing guest. We are talking to Andy Williams of Rehab Warriors. He is the founder and CEO of this amazing organization. Before we get into some of these questions, I wanted to introduce Andy Williams. Hey, Andy, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited about the conversation with you today.
Thank you. So I am going to, first of all, go into your bio, which is really impressive. I am also a veteran. And so, veteran to veteran, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Mr. Andy Williams is a U.S. Marine, award-winning social entrepreneur and real estate developer, focused on utilizing business as a force for good. Andy Williams leverages the skills from his career in anti-terrorism with the Marines, paramilitary operations with Blackwater, and entrepreneurial ventures within some of the most elite organizations to create change within his community. Andy Williams holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and a concentration in entrepreneurship and a master's in industrial organization psychology. In addition to his academic credentials, he is the founder of Rehab Warriors, executing full-scale community revitalization with a focus on social impact. Andy Williams passionately empowers veterans to become residential builder developers, capable of revitalizing underserved communities. America's first and only accredited workforce development model exclusively for veterans. This is pretty amazing, Andy. The first question that I have for you after reading that amazing bio, can you talk a little bit about your Marine career?
Yeah. The Marine Corps, I'd say, fundamentally shaped me. And to really talk about my Marine Corps career, although it was short, only did 4 years in the Marines, it was a very intentional decision to serve my country. I grew up in rural America. I graduated class of 2000. I was an athlete. I had full ride scholarships to go actually play ball at some of the D1 schools. I was economically challenged. My mom's an immigrant from Barbados. My dad was a concrete foreman. So joining the Marines was an alternative path that I chose at a high school that would give me independence. It would teach me a skill and a trade, and it will allow me to travel the world. That's what the recruiter told me. And I got to say, the recruiter did everything he could to get me into Fast Company, which is where I served, Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Team. And everything that I signed up for, I got. And above that, I got to meet some really amazing people. So I spent 4 years. My tempo was kind of high. As you can imagine, 9/11 happened in 2001, and terrorism was a kind of a footnote. It was not really publicized. It wasn't a public conversation. And then terrorism became really big part of the conversation in America. And so, as you can imagine, anti-terrorism became a big deal. So I was on the front end of kind of anti-terrorism, traveled about 35 countries in 4 years, had a pretty high tempo. And my skill set, when I got out, I ended up transitioning right into Blackwater. Blackwater was more of an extension of my service in the Marines. The mission was somewhat the same, except for we were on a kind of reactionary mission. We were there to do principal security. We were there to provide movement and mobility for the diplomats in Iraq during the war. And our skill set was leveraged for that. I spent 6 years in Iraq with Blackwater, 4 years in the Marines, transitioned for almost 4 months back home in Arlington, Texas, and then went back overseas. But I was in the same field of kind of serving. But I got to see the world from a different lens, because I got to see both peacetime and war, but also got to get exposed to the humanitarian side of what we do. And there's something about traveling to Djibouti, Africa, and seeing plight and poverty and spending time in Iraq and Afghanistan and watching people vote for the first time and then sitting in some of these meetings as a security guard, but you're also listening at the real viability of diplomacy. And the theme across it all was, how do you actually move missions forward? And there's a continuum of force and an escalation of force that I learned in the Marines and in Blackwater. And then there's a de-escalation of force. And, part of what hear in my bio is I use business as a force for good because, as we talk about housing and affordability, it's really just an escalation and de-escalation of force. I think there's an intentionality around having housing as a kind of private sector opportunity for all. I think it is one of the most fundamental wealth builders in our country. And I think every human being in America, regardless of political ties, race, or creed, deserve the opportunity to own a home and have safe and quality living. Just like I believe everybody has dignity of freedom and democracy. So the military shaped a lot of my idea of why Rehab Warriors was formed, but it also communicated to me that there's a bigger mission above myself. And I was just lucky enough to find my footing in real estate and community development and revitalization.
Yes. And as I think about folks that go into the military, I feel like we all go in thinking one way, but by the time we leave, we come out being equipped with so many nuggets of wisdom and skills that are beyond translatable in the civilian sector. So when we think about Rehab Warriors, what was your motivation for creating this type of organization?
It was really to fill a gap, to your point. I think veterans come out. So, as you can see, I have a background in industrial organizational psychology, really understanding the transition piece, right? As veterans, there's, 250,000 veterans transition each year through 9/11, 2.1 million veterans served in around the global war on terrorism. They're all coming back home. They're all looking for their piece of the American dream, their pathway. But I don't think America got it all the way right. And I also don't think that we are being guided in all the right directions. There's two things that you look at the veteran community. Anytime there's crisis or chaos, we're the ones that stand up and you can find calmness around our community, whether it's Hurricane Katrina and veterans volunteering to pull people out, board up homes, come back after and help recover and clean up, or whether it's other natural disasters or chaotic events where you'll see veterans just rise to the occasion to serve their fellow man, their fellow community member. Whether it's what we're now seeing veterans get into politics and really take that calling to the next level and want to serve their fellow resident and their fellow man or woman. The concept of when you join the military, you become a selfless person, you are part of a bigger mission, and your identity is somewhat lost in translation when you come back home because even though you want to be an individual, it's easier said than done. And you, as a fellow veteran, can attest to this. It's hard to find out who Lakeisha is. Like it was hard for me to find out who Andy Williams was when I came back. As much as you want to figure out who you are, there's so much happening around the world that you just want to gravitate to a bigger purpose or a bigger mission. And as I look at workforce development and some of the workforce development models, and I looked at construction, I looked at the construction models, and I looked at the pipeline that they were recruiting the veterans to be in the skilled trades, I had found some success as a residential rehab or home builder. And at that time, I created Rehab Warriors. I was just getting into like land development, entitlement services. I spent a few years on the State Board of Affordable Housing in Texas. So I had a different optics, but I also had this like underlining veteran theme. And to directly answer your question, Rehab Warriors was a mission to close the skills gap, but in a very strategic and tactical way, where I always felt that I served my country, so I deserved to be inserted in the middle of the workforce pipeline, not at the bottom. I didn't necessarily feel the entitlement to be at the top, but I figured if you can get me to the middle, I can work my way to the top. with a little bit of tenacity. And that pretty much represents the rest of the veteran community. And so when I looked at the real estate ecosystem, I'm constantly in and around transactions, whether I'm buying land, lining out a development, building a home, or representing someone at my brokerage. I study the HUD statement. And when you look at the HUD statement, you see there's all these different areas within a transaction where there is opportunity for economic impact, mobility, and skills growth where we as a veteran community deserve to be. And it's settled in construction, right? But when you look at construction, you think of home builders and developers. And the difference between a developer and a home builder is really the size of the project and the type of the project and the technology used to develop said project. And so that led me down talking to associations, that led me down talking to organizations. And the common theme is they always see the veteran as this workforce pipeline for plumbers, electricians, HVACs. And if you look at the messaging about project management, that is really not a topic that is really widespread and information-based, distributed down to the veteran community. Every veteran is a project manager, and they're missing one or two certifications. But when we think of project manager and project management, we're either thinking of a technology IT project manager, or we're thinking of a small project. It's not very often do you think this veteran could be managing a project of a $40 million tax credit deal, and he could do that 6 months out based on the previous skills he's had in the education. So I created Rehab Warriors because I somehow did 4 years in the Marines. I did 6 years at Blackwater. I got a degree or two, but I'm developing projects, right? I'm on the fee side. I'm on the ownership side. I'm on the LP side. I'm on the advocacy side. But I never really see the veterans inside the ecosystem, the downstream effect of the impact, the currency flowing down to that veteran community. And I've always seen like, man, the projects are going to happen regardless. Look at the economy. People are still building. I'm in Texas. Tax credits, bond deals are still happening. 4%, 9% deals are still happening. AC rehabs are still happening. We have a housing crisis. But the veterans are not like really in tune or educated that there's a massive opportunity to manage projects. Alternatively, if you look at workforce transitions, your average project manager is a little older than the average veteran, and the average project manager is also a little less technology focused and skilled. And as the construction industry shifts to adopt technology, it's going to need it at that project management level. Because the owner, rep, developer really just cares about, does the project get executed? Does it get done effectively, efficiently, and on time? And so you take this concept of the warfighter that has all these skills, these benefits, these tested environments by which he's managed either people, processes, or projects. And the gap between him and getting a real opportunity in America to build at the infrastructure of America, which is in a lot of ways the American dream or pathway to the American dream, is a certification. So when I realized it didn't exist, I said, well, I'm just going to build it. And people thought I was crazy because I just came off the air. I had a TV show. The networks were like, you guys' ratings are really good. You want to do season 2? And I was like, actually, no, I'm going to like focus on the mission. Because the reality is I was frustrated when I came home of seeing veterans not winning. So I built in silence. A lot of people don't know that Rehab Warriors exist intentionally because I wanted to build it right. And I built it for you, Lakeisha, for your fellow veteran. I built it in a way as if I were coming back 20 years ago, what I would want. Mm-hmm. And then I build it by listening to the veteran. That's why we're now coming out of stealth mode and we're actually building our industry council, and we're now offering opportunity for collaboration because I now know what the veterans want. What the veterans want, they want to win. They want to be in the fabric of housing, and they want their skills to be converted, not with a 4-year degree, but with a 12-month on-the-job training program that can be coupled with education, experience, fellowships, mentorships inside their community. They don't want to travel around the world anymore, but they would love to travel their community and find and really get granular to what their community needs. And what I've tested over the last 3 years is DOL loves the program. That's why they're a partner. Department of Veteran Affairs loves the program. That's why they're a partner. And the veterans are signed up. And now I'm doing this podcast in part because it's now time to actually invite the industry to be participants. What we built is a public benefit corporation type asset that we are a social enterprise by which we are going to focus 100% on the mission of reintegrating veterans into real estate. And we're going to cross train them in the ability to understand the role of a project manager with the lens and the hat of a builder developer while giving them the skills and the understanding that they're not giving a job, they're giving an opportunity, but they are in fact, with the certifications that are coupled with the training and the compression of time with live projects that they're working off of, the portfolios they're building and the experience they're going to gain and the network they're going to build in this industry, they will be the most qualified because they're the most adaptable to the change that is being forced on this industry. Veterans are uniquely qualified to address the problems in construction at the managerial level, project related, and move up more than any demographic in America right now. And they're everywhere. And we're coming back looking for purpose. And what greater purpose is to go dead head on with the housing crisis.
Now, there was something that you just said, and I quoted you because this is where sustainability comes to my mind. You said they are not given a job, but an opportunity. And so when we think about the ecosystem of the affordable housing industry, I would have never thought that veterans would have a seat at the table as you're creating for them at this moment. It's unique, it's innovative, it's inspiring because we do have veterans that they exit the military, and most veterans, they go straight to school because they think, okay, now I need to get my degree so that I can start working again. So when you reach out to veterans, are you reaching out to veterans that are just leaving the military, or are you also tapping into that population of veterans that may have been out for 5, even 10 years?
Yeah, it runs the gamut. And, the question I'd ask you, being in the industry, don't know how long you've been in the industry, but the question is, why did I have to build this? It makes too much sense. This is where purpose aligns with prosperity, that aligns with community. It is the perfect platform for veteran transition. To answer your question, if I look at my student base today, I got veterans that got out, spent 20 years in the military. They're on their first 6-month transition. They chose me over university. I had a Vietnam veteran that was 65 years old, and he wanted to go through because he always wanted to learn this skill, and he was interested. I have veterans that have started businesses, did not understand the responsibility of a business. They want to get a job, but they want to leverage their skills, shifting from restoration to project management. Then I got a veteran that got med board, and he's literally still on active duty. He's going through the training, and we're going to be placing him. The beautiful thing is the veterans are coming from all walks of life, all colors, all creed, all types. And they're just coming because they gravitate to the concept that I am doing what I believe every veteran chooses to do, which is I'm just going back to my community. I'm making it better. I'm not looking at policies. I'm not looking at projects specific. I'm looking at what is the need of the community, and then I'm leading from the front lines. But I somehow trenched a pathway that I'm doing extremely important work at a very local level that's getting national attention. And I just want to build a network of veterans that want to follow my lead. And so I create a programmatic that allows for them to do so. But it's also a collaboration. The veterans are coming because they're looking for AI resistant opportunities that they can build a skill, and they can feel like they can fill a void that's going to be there, but they can also work within the framework of their current life. I'd say that 70% of the veterans coming through our program have a disability rating. They either have a bad back or a bad arm, or they have ailments from the war on terrorism that they fought, and they need to be able to build a career that's going to last 10, 15 years, that is going to allow for their body to deteriorate and break down, but they don't have to be reskilled. It's amazing when you look at the massive opportunity of a project manager and the trajectory of a project manager in the right and left parallel skills and opportunities within industry. So veterans are realizing that they want to find balance in their community, and they realize that in projects and in project management, specifically within housing, there's an opportunity to not really take market share, not really jump on a startup, but it's an old business. It's a business where people can build real careers, and it's an important industry that is solving very important problems. We have this opportunity that we have a bunch of project managers aging out. Their experience is going to be lost. And what we've seen, in the kind of way I sold this to DOL, is these veterans are going to be able to step in, fill those gaps, start, because veterans are very humble. Like, they'll start as a project engineer, even though they should be a project manager.
Mm-hmm.
They'll start, give us a start, right? That's my, if anybody wants to reach out, like, we just want to give veterans a start. Give them 6 months, give them 1,000 hours, let them show you what they can do, pay them fair, and then pay them well, because they're going to create value. But then what's going to happen is that talent that's leaving your organization after 20 years, that talent's going to be able to reach back out to that veteran and talk to that veteran and pour into that veteran experience that he actually would otherwise probably not, because that veteran is not just going to be looking for a job. He's going to be looking for an opportunity, but he's also going to be looking for a community. So the other thing of coming out of stealth mode with this program is that, the people listening in is, I love this industry. I love housing. I love development. I found my home here. I found not just success from a monetary standpoint, but from success from being able to wake up every day and build and innovate, but then look at some of the problems and stare them dead in the face, but knowing that the people in this industry, they really are the people that are going to solve massive problems at a local level. And we don't bow down because of changes in economy, because of policy changes at an administration. We're just going to figure out a way. And it's something that can be done at the local level. It could be done integrating at the state level. And then there's that aspect of the federal level, right? But it's nothing different in the military and the Marines, right? You had to have joint service support. And so it's just like the military. But veterans are here. If you teach them early and you give them a pathway, if you tell anyone, any veteran, that, hey, I got another mission for you. You're just going to manage projects. You're going to build houses for the American people, and you're going to get paid fair. And it's a good paying job, and it's a career that you're probably going to have 15 to 20 years in. That's why we have a waiting list, because veterans just want to go to work and address the problems at their local level. And the local problem is really best addressed with local people. And so the idea of bringing DOL, who's national, to the table, bringing Department of Veteran Affairs, who's national, to the table, both federal, and then giving them an opportunity to give veterans a pathway, and then coming to the industry to say, hey, here's what we have. I'm excited to see what comes from the conversations that comes from this announcement. But the veterans are very much deserving of an opportunity. And Rehab Warriors is really, it's a great idea, but it's a passion project to turn into a business. It was like this burning conviction that I need to bring this to market, because I want veterans to have unrestricted pathways. I don't want to be the only one out here being able to do what I'm doing, but I also know that they can't start, because I'm 20 years in the game. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, because I bought my first house when I was 21.
Wow.
I aggregated my first rental portfolio by 25. I cut up my first land in my 30s, right? I'm experienced. I'm spent 4.5 years on the State Board of Affordable Housing, appointed by Governor Abbott. So I have a decent experience level, but it doesn't make me any more qualified than a veteran to start as a project engineer.
So it actually is leading me to the next question that I have, because you spoke about the location of Rehab Warriors being in Texas. And my mind is already spinning, because in Southern California, there is a huge veteran population. I myself, when I left the military, I stayed here in San Diego, to be exact. But throughout Southern California, there's such a need for resources for veterans, especially when we are definitely looking at the workforce development and what that looks like. So, do you have any plans on expanding out of Texas, or are you really focused on the state of Texas.
Yeah, and again, just preemptively, we're already nationwide. I'm training veterans in California right now. I've trained veterans in California. The program is approved nationwide. I don't have a barrier. I actually the first veterans that came out were in like Maryland. So we're nationwide. Our program is approved for training nationwide. I've actually just met with the mayor's office in San Diego. They're doing really awesome stuff with that transit oriented development in the complete cities. We met with them. So, yeah, it was very important before we brought it to market that we achieved nationwide reach, not turning veterans away locally. So, the best way to explain it is like we're a platform where veterans can gain the education certifications. We're going to have employer partners that are going to be vetted and they can onboard with us, take veterans by allocation, take veterans through fellowship. They can support on the OJT, but it's really about building that community because we're now at a stage where I want to build a capacity for the nation. But we've achieved nationwide approval with DOL to accept veterans, give them the training. The training is delivered in a kind of hybrid environment, and the OJT and the employer partnerships are very flexible on our side. So it's really just an internal procedure for us to vet employers and to connect with employers. The way we designed it is like if somebody's listening and they're a firm and they really want to support, hire, and or train, work with veterans from our platform in our community, we've removed all the friction, right? We deal with DOL, we deal with VA, we dealt with them to the point where we've triggered this to be nationwide. And we operated it for about 12 months nationwide to understand like the friction. On one of the other sides of my business, I'm really good at facing off with government. And so I kind of got it to where if somebody called me and they wanted to work and be a part of our program and get vetted, sign up, and wanted to support pathways for veterans, we can triangulate a friction-free way for them to continue to do their mission, gain access to a pipeline, and more importantly, do the right thing by giving these veterans pathways and opportunities. And it is literally friction-free. So that's one thing. And I think one of the other questions that's going to come up is like, who are my kind of supporters and advocates?
Mhm.
One of the supporters is, again, Department of Labor. I worked with them for 2.5, 3 years, fought for the program to be designed the way it was. But they're very excited. We're one of the kind of more promising apprenticeship programs that came out. And then Department of Veteran Affairs, we have a really good working relationship with the VRE department and VA. We're going to go down the path of getting the program kind of GI Bill approved, but we didn't do that yet because we really wanted to kind of own the workforce side.
Yes.
But we just recently signed an MOU with Johns Hopkins University because what a lot of veterans are doing is they want to go into our training, they want to go get a job in industry, and then they want to continue their education. And so we're now onboarding some university partners. So look at Rehab Warriors more as a platform, very high touch, hands-on platform where we're going to build a community where veterans have a safe place to learn. We've designed the curriculum in a way that a veteran can do it based on his lifestyle. We build the projects and we then advocate at the community level. But more importantly, because I do this in real life and I love it, the veterans get a lot of exposure to projects. They build portfolios, they get the certifications. And if I would have gave you a veteran, came right out of the military, he probably is more qualified than the average person applying. He just his curriculum isn't spot on. He's missing a couple certifications and his resume isn't crafted directly to the industry. And so what we did is we kind of reverse engineered what this transition looks like. If I were to take a veteran, I receive him and I'm saying, hey, you're going to go into this MOS construction. We're going to basically support you and build you to be ready for the construction industry, just like the military trains you for your MOS. So what the partners can expect is a qualified veteran that has all the certifications and then also has all the support versus this is a pass through. Just because you serve doesn't make you a good project manager. But if you served and you have the certifications and you have the training and you have the skill and the passion and you have an employer that actually wants to give these veterans the pathways by giving them an opportunity, they're going to find the net benefit at their bottom line, but also they're going to feel good because once veterans integrate into communities, whether it's employer based, whatever, they are very resourceful. And I think this is one of the opportunities for us really to shine. I think with everything going on in the country, I think veterans are are probably the most calmest demographic right now because we've lived in chaos. But this is what organizations are going to be looking for is people that can adapt and overcome and then really just be mission focused and do more with less and then do the right thing when no one's looking.
Yeah.
And then stick and be loyal to an organization and a mission and stay completed, focused on the mission at hand. And we have such a huge mission in housing.
That's right. And as we round up, Andy, if you could leave listeners with a couple things about Rehab Warriors, just 2 sentences, what would that be for folks that want to just get a summary of the great work with Rehab Warriors? What would you leave listeners with?
Yeah, Rehab Warriors is a training platform that trains veterans to find their footing in this industry with certifications, to fill the gaps that are being created and that currently exist. So employers have a qualified pool of talent to tap into. And then when the veterans are there, they're going to have this wrap services support. On the other side, Rehab Warriors is very much concentrated in community. What we left out is that we cross-train the veterans on community revitalization efforts. So veterans are training. I adopt neighborhoods. Right now I'm in 76104. Veterans are training on live projects, whether it's a new build, whether it's a rehab at a veteran that just completed their RTI and in the OJT portion, and they're laying out a site plan on a junkyard that's 2 acres that we acquired that we're going to redevelop into for-sale housing product. So he's interfacing with the city. He's interfacing with zoning. He's interfacing with the architect, the engineers, and they're learning. And the byproduct of it is I'm just going to continue to rebuild the communities that I love and I care about that deserve to be rebuilt. I'm going to train as many veterans as I can. And then I'm going to look to transition them to healthy, happy organizations that want to continue to support the veterans in their transition in this industry we all love. So in summary, Rehab Warriors is an industry innovation that everyone that's listening is invited to participate in. Just reach out. You can find us online. Our numbers are out there. Call 214-890-6164. It'll get an office line. You can email me at andy@rehabwarriors.com. But more than happy to talk to my industry personnel that really, I think, will get what we built. But I built it so the veterans don't have to continue to wander around and look for a home. We're not going to help every veteran, but I think we have an opportunity to help a lot. But I will say I can't do it without the industry because the industry's helped me. So I just figured if I built something as intentional as Rehab Warriors, that the industry would support it in a way. And at this point, we're not looking for necessary funding. We're not looking for anything other than, intentional support, take veterans by allocation, help us on the OJT side, fill your employer gaps, build community around this platform that we're intentionally aligning the veterans to. And by network effect, we should be able to do more projects and have more capacity as an industry with this veteran population that otherwise would be left to find their own way.
That's right. Wow, Andy, your story is so amazing. Again, when I think of veterans, I think that we are natural entrepreneurs. And I feel like you have taken this to the next level. So not only is your story inspirational, but you're also reaching back and helping others find their way too, which is not always easy. Sometimes folks struggle leaving the military, especially if they've been in the military 22 years. So it could be a little difficult. But I appreciate all the work that you're doing. I feel like there is so much more to come for you and so many great doors of opportunity for you as you continue to grow in your business. And it's good to know that you are also nationwide. So I look forward just to hearing more success stories from you. And thank you so much, Andy, for this talk today. And we will leave your information in this WAHNcast episode so that folks can reach out to you. But thank you so much.
No, thank you guys. And you guys are doing amazing work. And I look forward to seeing you guys at the conference.
All right. I'll see you there. Thank you.